Okay, okay. Hey, I'm not even gonna front, man. One Piece chapter 1054. Sabo got a really cool name. I'm a little hot that this man apparently, and we don't have all the facts yet, so I don't want to jump the gun, but apparently he killed Vivi's father and kidnapped Vivi, which you longtime viewers know I'm a huge fan of Vivi. I really thought she should have went to sea with Luffy and the rest of them, but the fact that Sabo has that name, the Flame Emperor. That is so hot, man. I need to see if they got Sabo merchandise, like where it's got like Flame Emperor or something, because I totally wear that right there. That's a good nickname. Like that is a really good nickname. If I'm Sabo, I'm super proud of that. And I gotta say that last panel at the end of the chapter where you had Akainu and he's looking out there, he's like, man, this is one hell of a time for me to be the Admiral, Fleet Admiral. But it doesn't matter, I'm gonna drive all of them down to the depths of the sea itself. Between that and the reveal that we got about CP9 actually trying to take away the gum fruit that was on Shanks' ship before Luffy actually got it and ate it. The fact remains that this right here is hands down one of those chapters that just makes you sit there and pinch yourself, because we just got out of one very, very long and exhausting arc, and not in a bad way, but that fight with Kaido, I'm still just processing it, and now I'm having to wrap my head around all of this. This is such a good transition. You know, like I was expecting to have like the party chapter and then have some stuff where Luffy and them end up on a smaller island, like a little bit of a decompression. I like Oda actually kept his foot on the gas right here. This is not going to be as short of a turnaround time right here. And the fact that Shanks, after all this time, is like, I'm finally going to make my move. We've been waiting on this man to do a lot for a long time, so I'm very curious to see what it is that Shanks is going to do. So with the initial thoughts of the chapter out of the way, let's back things up and get into the recap portion of the review itself. So the chapter opens up where you got Denjiro and the other samurai. They've all gathered with the intention of stopping the admiral who has the wood fruit, because essentially they're saying that Luffy and the others have not recovered, which is true, and they don't want them to actually directly engage in battle. This leads to a moment where as they begin fighting, Yamato steps into the battle, and Yamato says that you're not going to be doing anything of what you're talking, saying that you're going to bring down Straw Hat Luffy. We're going to protect him. Yamato is going into the fight, and when Yamato get asked who she is, she says that she's the child of Kaido. And before Yamato can directly engage in battle even further, Momo transforms into a dragon. Momo shoots off a breath blast, and Momo directly tells Yamato to stand down. And he says that Yamato under no circumstances is to engage in the battle itself. Meanwhile, you have near the actual seas of Wano. Meanwhile, we shift over to Shanks, and Shanks and his crew are very close to Wano. And you have the people in Shanks' crew, the ones that remember Luffy, are saying like, hey, we need to go see Luffy. He's a great pirate now. It's been ages. And you have Shanks sitting there thinking, saying, it's been such a long time since I said goodbye to Odin. Momo and Hiyori are probably all grown up right now. And it's one of those things where it kind of makes me wonder, Shanks has to know that Odin got killed. He has to know that. But the fact that he thinks Momo and Hiyori are actually alive and not thinking that they're dead like what was being reported, unless that was in the actual paper itself, it's make me wonder if Shanks just lost track of what happened with Wano. But I do kind of look at it like Shanks has a lot of territory, so that does make sense, and it's been a long time. And in particular, one thing I found very interesting was the fact that Usopp's father, Yasop, is saying, I don't want to see my son yet. I'm not ready to see him. And another one of the members of the crew says that because Kid is still there, they need to pay Kid back. And you just see Shanks smiling like a proud older brother as he's looking down at Luffy. And I think it's because he's looking at Luffy with that transformed state that Shanks is sitting there and realizing that that's the true power of the gum fruit. That's why Luffy has that transformed state that is in the bounty poster he has. And we get the flashback, and that kind of further hammers home that Shanks knew exactly what it was that he had in his possession when he had the gum. And in the flashback, we find out that CP9, the agents were on board of the ship. They tried to attack Shanks and them. Shanks says, like, we have nothing to worry about. We're setting sail. We're going to fight. And one of the crew members is saying it's only a devil fruit, so why are they actually coming here? There's nothing special about the fruit itself. And we get the flashback to where Luffy's going up to Shanks, and you see Shanks and Luffy spending time together. Shanks is recalling how he lost his arm in the process. And it's just so funny how some of the deckhands who don't actually know Luffy like that, but they've heard the stories of Luffy, they're saying he's this monstrous, uncontrollable ape of a man, and yet at the same time, Shanks still remembers Luffy as being the small child who he saved. So I do like that because, you know, it's one of those things that no matter how old somebody gets, when you've been part of a child's life or you've seen a child when they're very young and you got very attached to them, it's one of those things where you're still going to associate them with that younger image of them that you have in your head. And I like how Shanks is able to hide some of that by saying, I don't want to see Luffy. And the reason why is Luffy has one of his followers inside of his my territory right now, which that looks like that might be Bartolomeo. And he says that he's burned down all of the flags. And he says he's burned down a lot of the flags in Shanks' territory, and he's put up the Straw Hat flag in place of that. So he's saying it doesn't look right for him to go there and to speak to Luffy after everything that happened. He'll lose some of the trust that the people in his territory actually have in him. And it's at that point that Shanks says that it's time for them to finally make their move and to finally claim the One Piece. So that's interesting. And it makes a lot of sense that like right now, Shanks is about to make that move. And it makes me wonder, what is the One Piece and why has Shanks waited so long? Because Shanks has gone the actual sea for the Grand Line itself. It's been decades since Roger actually found the One Piece on the final island. Shanks knows the way to actually get there. He went there as a part of Roger's crew in the first place. So I'm kind of curious why he waited so long. Is there a potential timer on how long it is before you can actually get the One Piece, depending on what it actually is? I'm curious to see that. Now, the next thing we find out is that as the admirals are speaking, we find out that Sabo actually killed Cobra, again, as they're saying. I don't know if that's necessarily the actual case. I want more context on this. And we find out that when Fujitora and the other admirals got the woods fruit or the forest fruit, were battling. It looks like they weren't able to actually use their full power. Akaino's not trying to hear it, and Akainu takes a step further, saying that because Vivi disappeared at the same time that Cobra died, Alabasta looks like it might be in a bit of turmoil right now. And because when you look at the significance of Vivi's family, how they're one of the last surviving families that helped found the world government itself, the fact that she's gone missing has been a really big blow. So I'm kind of curious if this is one of those situations where Dragon might have had Vivi taken just because of the significance that she has in order to deal out a blow to the world government itself. Makes me wonder what Dragon's plans are. And we find out about how big the influence that Sabo has been getting, and it's gotten to a point where Sabo might actually be more popular than Luffy's father, Dragon. And that's interesting to see that. And I like how one of the things that we see is that Kizaru is sitting there saying, like, I can't believe his brother Straw Hat Luffy is an Emperor of the Sea right now. And you know, Kizaru's thinking back to that time at Sayabodi and thinking, I should have killed these folks when I had the chance, because he could have killed the Straw Hats. And it's one of those things where you can see that the sins of yesterday are coming back, and they've got to be paid for now for the admirals as well as for the world government itself. I'm very curious to see what Akainu's next move is going to be, and that's actually my chapter question for you guys. At the time when you heard this, did you believe that Sabo actually killed Cobra, or do you think that there was something else behind that we weren't actually being told? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.